It's day 5 of CES, but our day 6.
And it's day 3?
It's day 5.
It's day 3 of exhibits,
Day
right?
3 of exhibits, day 5 of us working, and day 6 of us being there. It's been a very long week.
Can you believe that? I know. So I'm sitting there thinking, what day is today? See, I was not the only one in the press room going, what's today? Because today, oh yeah, it's Saturday, as we said, it's day 3 of exhibits, day 5
Of the press.
of press stuff, and day 6 of us being in Vegas for CES.
Yeah.
And so as you can see, all the days are running together.
Because it was actually a 2-day conference before the press thing started for
That's right.
storage. So, which we never are able to attend because there's no time.
Oh, I know. Well, you know, see, part of it is a lot of people, when they tune in, they see all the CES coverage, you know, they see, oh, from the showroom floor, they see this and that, right? So that's all when the exhibits open.
Yeah.
Yeah. So part of it is before the exhibits open, we are running around like crazy.
There's 2 days before the exhibits open.
I know. And so part of it is Saturday. One of the things that you notice on Saturday, well, because CES is over the weekend, because before it hasn't been, is that the room rates are higher.
Yeah.
Saturday and Friday. So what it also means is there are fewer people.
That's when you swoop down to do interviews.
Well, because part of it is if you go on the first day of the show, it is just, as you've seen from all the coverage, it is just so difficult to move around, to get around, to talk to people.
Well, yeah, because she had, one of our cameras was severely damaged because there were so many people.
Yesterday.
Yeah, busted. I know.
So anyway, so one of the cameras, I mean, actually, we're going to be talking about 3D and the competition that goes on between some of these vendors, because I will tell you that there is a war out there. There's a 3D war out there. No, it's not.
Oh God!
It's never. I mean, part of it is you would see it in the news, but we felt it on the floor.
Oh God! Everybody's. I mean, it is a. Even though they're not serious about 3D, no matter how much they look like they're serious, they are fighting one another over not being serious.
I know. This is kind of crazy. You're going, what? Should we tell them what we saw?
Well,
or maybe that's for a different podcast.
That's for a different thing.
Okay. So anyway, Saturday, CES, day 3. Of course, they come out with the show daily that tells about all the different things. Oh yeah, and Lady Gaga was there yesterday, making a stand with the Polaroid huge glasses.
Yeah.
But today, some of the highlights were, of course, Last Gadget Standing, which actually typically is one of my favorite events to go to, because not only is it, they have fun.
It was considerably better lit than my living in digital times.
Well, because they have a stage, and people, although they did not dress up as much as they have in the past, because part of the Last Gadget Standing is they have voters, and then the people, they do it by applause,
Okay,
right?
the little Roomba automated robot that cleans floors was debuted at Last Gadget Standing.
Mm-hmm. And quite a few of their things that were debuting at Last Gadget Standing have done very, very well, and they won, like the Audience Award or different things. So, it's always just a fun thing. And they have small companies and they have large companies. One of the companies that was most intriguing, because I did tape this, is, and I wish I remembered. See, part of it is everything merges together, right? And as you can see, I have a huge script in front of me.
Yep.
Is you put it inside your ear and you make your own adjustable earbuds yourself within about 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, that one's is an old. They used to do that customized for you, but now you can do it yourself, which make people a lot happier. So.
Well, yeah, but and it's relatively quick and easy to do. And so some other things you would expect to see. Let's see, what Samsung was doing their gingerbread. Yeah. Their Android 3, their gingerbread. And, so anyway, you're going to have to stay tuned for that. But meanwhile, Cam is in the press room in what they would call processing hell. Because,
oh, yeah.
See, part of it is while we've been here at CES, we talk about all the things that we're doing, but yes, we are still getting work out. And, notwithstanding, like, the first day,
Because we're 1 day behind on everything because it could, a lot of crappy internet connections.
Well, and then the first day, actually the second day we were in Vegas, the first day of CES, my broadband card took out my computer, right, and my cell phone. So we only had 2 computers operating instead of, well, 3.
Yeah, and
Which does make a difference.
One of them doesn't really work on batteries because it's over rigged in order to process 3D
I know.
video.
So anyway, things are taking a little bit longer, but you know, the good part about today is you actually could find a spot in the press room to sit down.
Yeah.
Without having to wait for half an hour.
Because the guy, everyone that didn't want to pay Friday and Saturday rates left Friday.
Yeah.
So there was places to sit, which
We saw the lines of people leaving, waiting for the taxis.
Yeah, it meant there was less food to eat in the press room now.
I know. I think this is what I heard, that actually the first 2 days there was actually more food available for the press, and then they cut it back so much that actually they're. Let's just say that I have friends that didn't make it back for lunch, and so I know I said, why did you have lunch over at the Hilton? They're like, well, they called me and said they ran out of lunch in the press room.
No, we had to line up a half hour before the lunch was ready to get lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how little they had that day. So it got worse. It gets worse. So
yeah, so stuff like that happens, and meanwhile, okay, I'm in the press room working. I'm going out trying to get some of those interviews, and of course we were over at Sony today. Sony Automotive, and Sony's got some really cool things coming out when it comes to the automotive front. I'm always amazed. You know, because typically when you think of Sony products, you know they're always made well, and they tend to be a little bit on the higher price point, but I'm surprised in automotive at how extremely competitive they are. I mean, competitive enough where you're thinking, are you sure that's the right price?
I think they're number one in the world, whether people know it or not, because it's supplied, it's in an awful lot of automobiles factory, which is funny, they sell aftermarket, but they're factory installed Sony audio systems.
And are they private labeling or do?
Basically, there's no. They're just labeled for the automobile companies.
Yeah, but sometimes that happens with automobile companies. So I mean, maybe that's why, but they're huge. But meanwhile, they had well, actually, we had a little bit of fun with them there because. The gentleman I was supposed to meet with, Mike, who's director of the department, had to meet with Tom, who does all the GPS for Sony. So he handed me off to Todd, and as he was leaving, he was teasing Todd, because Todd is bald, right? And he, got tattoos up. And he said, "Oh, Todd, you're a little bit shiny on the top of your head."
Yeah, powder his head.
Yeah, he asked me if I had powder. He says, "Joyce, don't you have something for it?" So I pulled something out from my bag, and of course, they thought it was all funny, and they were there taking pictures. I think it was a setup.
Yeah.
But they had the Green Hornet, which is coming out in the theaters, I think at the end of this week. And so they had Sony Electronics. Of course, that's a Sony movie, pictures Green Hornet in 3D. So, there's going to be Sony Electronics in that automobile. And so we actually do have an interview with them talking about the audio for the Green Hornet.
Yeah.
So that one's really cool. And, and then, GM's Envy car. Now I have to tell you, it's EN-V electric.
It's one of those little bubble cars that you used to see on The Wonderful World of Disney, at what the world of the future would be like, people riding in bubble cars.
Yeah, it reminds you, something like that, or from the Jetsons or Star Wars, and they really were like little bubble cars. So actually, I'm riding in it, and they're talking about all the different things, how the car parks itself, and I'm looking like, oh, that's really cool. This is like Back to the Future. And I'm thinking, this is very much a concept vehicle.
Only if the president leaves it a concept vehicle, because they're small and you can't go anywhere, so that's the type of cars the Democrats like.
Oh, and
it's going to be expensive. So small, expensive, and you can't go anywhere in it. So.
Well, part of it is the cars can park themselves. So you can leave your car and then it'll go park itself in these things that rotate around. The other part is it's supposed to stop automatically when there's a person crossing. Well, one of the things that they forgot when they're doing the demo is, since the car stops automatically, right? You have photographers taking pictures and video. It stops.
Yeah, and everybody go move.
And it wouldn't move, so they had to override it and get it to move.
So it basically it does happen. Every time we do anything automotive, they forget about photographers. Like we're at the Ford Interceptor thing. The photographers, the only way the photographers could get the good shots was they had to be in the middle of the acceleration test. And it's designed, you're not supposed to be in the middle of the accelerator, but if you want to get the pictures of the car accelerating, you got to be in
Have to
front.
be in the middle of all that.
Yeah, so the photographers are standing out there with nothing protecting them shooting. So
No, when the car stops, and they're all going, well, the photographers all move back, please, so the car can move.
yeah, but it's going to happen. It's why it can't work in a city.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody jaywalks.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens? Actually, what happens is that a lot of things are designed by people that don't actually ever go out in public.
Well, those were cars that they were driving themselves. There was no one in them.
Yeah.
So then they had to come over, and someone actually physically had to like turn some switch and get it.
You know, there was like we have seen that same
or whatever
car
they had to do to it.
over in the other lot, but a bigger car with nobody driving it. Now they shrink it down to a small
Little
car.
bubble. So you know, it was like kind of fun, Back to the Future, but you know, the probability of them happening, you know, is kind of, let's just say it's very much a concept car. We're talking decades.
Yep.
Yeah, because you know, obviously it's not going to work out in the
Or
suburban.
tomorrow if the president wants it done. So.
Well, you know, I did think about, you know, an adaptation of it possibly for like golf courses.
I hate to tell people, but
Like that.
my father bought one of those things years
did?
ago. Yeah, well, actually didn't buy it. It came with the pickup truck that he was buying in the back.
Oh, that's right.
You know, the bubble, basically you lift up the bubble in the front and you get the one person behind, you push the seat, lift up the bubble, push the seat down, get in the back seat, and another person gets in the front seat, and it's got a joystick to drive it because you couldn't put you couldn't get into the thing with the steering wheel, so.
Meanwhile, did you ever get out of the press room? Was this the...
Yeah, well, because when I'm processing for an hour or so, I go walk around outside and look what's going on, and close by. So.
See, one of the things is old Kim actually sees more of the show than I do because he walks the entire show. But we'll be talking more about that. But meanwhile, I went back to Sony. Yes, because Sony Automotive is in a different area. Then I went to the main Sony booth, and of course we had to go look at their 3D stuff and talk to them about cameras, video cameras, and all the different things they have coming up. And actually, the audio guys that I normally speak to are not there, so we'll be talking to them later at NAMM. But I mean, they got some amazing things coming out. So it's just fun to see all their different toys. And LD was there, and Rochelle was there, and they took me through everything. And part of it is like LD, we had met him at the Bloggy Touch launch with Jack Johnson.
Yep.
And what I always appreciate is he really knows his stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So you can ask him questions and he knows.
Well, he can tell you how to override their things to make them do things they're not supposed to do too, because he does it with his equipment.
So there are on equipment you can get firmware updates, so then your camera can do more. Oh, you didn't realize that, because some of it it's just a software function.
Yeah.
So we did see like the Sony camcorder that has a projector in it in the camcorder.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was kind of fun, and their 3D one, the Bloggy 3D, right? And so we're looking at dates. What is it, like March? And then they had another one that's like the size of the Bloggy, but just a little bit larger. So there's viewing screens on two sides. So basically. Yeah,
actually, I saw some underdressed Asian model walking around shooting herself with the thing, and people are looking on the other side of what she's shooting. So.
Yeah.
But she wasn't with Sony. She was with one of the other things that had that camera.
You can do that because you can watch yourself and you can sit there and talk about it. And ideally, let's just say we've seen news people.
Oh God, we've seen it with the extender rod with their Bloggy on it. Okay, will you please move the camera a little bit more to the right so I can be in better. They're talking to there's a camera in there, and it's just them.
Yeah, but see, part of it is you can do that, and it's not just when you're reporting news. You can do that with your kids and your fun, because you can actually see the viewing screen, which is really kind of cool. So there's a lot of fun toys out. And see, part of it is today is like, I wanted to see more, but it's just like...
Well, she never gets to see the show. I'm the only one that ever sees the show.
I know. So, part of it is the GM thing. I had called because I was thinking of like not doing it because it was like an hour and a half. And
Which ended up as an hour and a half.
He said, the presentation's only 15 minutes, and then people were in the car, and I'm like, okay, well, this part was 15 minutes, and then this part was this, and then this part was this, and this was, by the time it was almost...
It was an hour and a half, so...
Which, okay, if I would have known, I would have not done that and gone to other appointments. See, because part of it is sometimes we do listen to what the PR people say and we hope that they're right, and then you get into it and then you,
PR people lie.
and then you can't believe.
Remember, that's a good thing. PR people lie. They really do lie. So
I think there's something that says just get the press person there, no matter what it takes. Right. So anyway, so I mean, part of it is it's like that's, and you're like, that's all you did. Well, you know,
it took all day to do all of that. I
Yeah.
mean, it took all day, folks. It takes an hour to get to the convention center.
yeah, it does. And see, part of it is anytime, even when you change halls, you change locations. It's like,
And
it just takes time.
And it can take 20 minutes to walk from one end of the convention center to the other. If you're one, so it takes time getting forth. Because we heard a couple of years ago, one of the major news organizations put a pedometer on its crew, and they did 100 miles in the week.
know.
100 miles of walking. That's a lot of
You
walking.
can do an awful lot of walking, and then it's I get this in shape a little bit more.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of walking. Did you ever make it out? You were in the press room mainly all day, other than going out
Yeah.
in between processing, huh?
I just go out of the room and go look around on the floor I was on because I couldn't go anywhere. I mean, okay, here's the way it works is you can leave an ungodly equipment worth a ton of money, but if you leave a lighted pen, they'll steal it in the press room. So
Oh, I know. In fact, when we were there, you had set your stuff up.
Yep.
And I knew it was your stuff because everybody was there. And I saw it, and like you had gone up to go get coffee, but I had seen you were there.
Yeah.
And so I went to go sit in your stuff, and the guy's sitting there glaring at me, going, "You're in the wrong spot."
yeah,
Right.
well, because when you set up many offices on
Yeah.
processing hell day. So
Yeah. So he's looking at me like I'm in the wrong spot. And I'm like, "No, it's okay. I'm with him because," and I showed him that our bags match.
yeah.
He's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, no, because it's just everybody watches everybody else's equipment on. I mean, because
But you know what? It's really good because it's, in a way, the press room is very safe as far as equipment because.
don't leave lighted pins; they'll steal
Yeah.
them. They'll take a pin with your name on it and walk off with it. So
Yeah, but equipment, it's
no,
just
they
one
don't
of the
pay
safest
attention to
places
equipment.
be.
But things like cut off of cheap pins, they'll take them. So
So it's like, part of it you're like, that's all you do. But yeah, and then we went back. See, tonight there are some parties. There's not as many parties as there have been, but tonight's one of the low key because a lot of people, well, compared to the first couple of days, there's a lot of people that had already left town. People are just winding up, and this is the time when people are actually able to get to see the show that have been working the show. Supposedly.
Yeah.
So anyway, we go back to the room, have a nice, relaxing dinner. Relatively, well, we're processing.
yeah, well, we have a room with a large kitchen, so we can cook.
Well, one of the reasons we like to do that is not only because we set up the office and then go, but also while you're getting ready to eat, you can eat and work at the same time, and your batteries are charging, things are downloading, and all that stuff is going on. So anyway, tonight's like the pack up night, clean up the room. Because we did set up the office. Meanwhile, there's one last day to go.